Good afternoon and welcome to the Pennsylvania Press Club. I'm Francine Schertzer, president of the Pennsylvania Press Club and your host for today's luncheon. Joining me at the head table is Warren Hudak with Hudak & Company and Anita Lewis with AmeriHealth Caritas. We thank you for your support and thank you both for being here. The Pennsylvania Press Club Luncheon Series could not be possible without the support of the generous organizations listed on our sponsor banner. Today's luncheon is being taped and will be carried throughout Pennsylvania to the television and streaming audience of the Pennsylvania Cable Network and on PCN Select. Our speaker today is Mayor of the City of Philadelphia, Cherelle Parker. Cherelle L. Parker was born to a single teenage mom and raised by her grandparents, James and Dorothy Parker. It was the power of a village, her family, and her community, and their belief in the power of education that gave her the opportunity to succeed. A graduate of Philadelphia Public Schools, she was the first person in her family to go to college, earning her bachelor's degree from Lincoln University, where she was a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and then earning her master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania. After receiving her undergraduate degree, she taught public school as a high school English teacher and ESL teacher, working with immigrant children and adults. Inspired to public service by Councilwoman Marion Tasco, who she had interned for, Cherelle worked in Tasco's office and rose to serve as a senior staffer, where she oversaw, among many other things, the implementation of all economic and community development initiatives that help neighborhoods and business corridors thrive. By the time she left, she became one of Councilwoman Tasco's most trusted advisors. While serving at the state capitol, Cherelle was elected to the State House and went on to serve 10 years representing Northwest Philadelphia. On winning her election, she made history as the youngest African-American woman elected to the state legislature. In Harrisburg, she was elected by her colleagues to chair the Philadelphia delegation, and it was her leadership in this role that she earned her reputation as one of the most effective legislators in Harrisburg. Cherelle returned to City Council as a member in 2015, representing the 9th District, Northwest and Northeast Philadelphia. In 2020, she was elected by her colleagues as Council's majority leader. A single mom, Cherelle lives in Northwest Philadelphia with her son Langston and their dog Max. Mayor Parker, thank you for joining us.
PA Press Club here in Harrisburg, and to the viewers on PCN who are watching right now. Francine, as I listened to you give that introduction, I was saying, that's not me. I'm not that old. I haven't been here that long. But it is an honor and a privilege to be here on today. I want you to know that when I was traveling here and we are on the turnpike coming, I really did feel like this was a homecoming. So much of the work that I have been able to do in the city of Philadelphia as a member of council and now as mayor, so much of it started during my tenure here as a member of the Pennsylvania House, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. I have so many friends who are in the audience. I will not dare start calling names, because if I do, I'm going to forget somebody, charge it to my head and not my heart, by saying I love all of you and thank you for the technical support and friendship that you've provided to me over the years. And can we all just give the press club and all my friends a round of applause? Thank you all. Thank you all. Let me just stop, because I want to go through my remarks, but I'm really anxious to get to the Q&A portion of this. I want to start by asking us all if we will do something that I did not ever envision, because I don't think that you can prepare yourself for this moment. For those of you who know, we had an officer, Philadelphia police officer in the city of Philadelphia, who had been serving our city for 6.5 years, doing one of the most noblest things that you could do for the city, that is protecting and serving us as a member of the Philadelphia Police Department. And he was shot in the line of duty and is right now fighting for his life. I am a praying woman, Before I'm mayor, I want you to know I am a praying woman. I believe in the power of prayer. And I want to ask each and every one of you who are present on today to join me in a moment of silence as we lift him up, his partner up, his family up, and all of those who protect and serve us here in the Commonwealth in our city. Thank you. Cherelle Parker, you left the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, where I tell people I served for 10 years, which was only long enough to find my way to the bathroom in the Capitol. But I left there, went to city council, ran for mayor in what political pundits called the most competitive and the most expensive mayoral election in the history of our great city. And how did you win first? I think it was because I affirmed that we could make this vision a reality, and that is the vision was of making Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the nation with access to economic opportunity for all. And as mayor of the city, I would not try to do that as a bastion of perfection. I would do it as my authentic self, in my authentic voice, and I would not change my message based on the race, class, socioeconomic status, zip code, sexual orientation or identity, and or religion of the Philadelphian I would engage in. I would communicate that message to all, and my hope is that that vision and that message would unify our city so that we could truly become one Philly, a united city. So PCN viewers, if you see me in photos and you see lots of people around me with their fingers up in the air this way, it's not some nefarious symbol or signal. Everyone puts what we call their ones in the air, and this signals our goal to achieve one Philly, a united city. Okay, I just wanted to explain that to everyone so that everyone could understand what it is that we were doing. I am also proud that working in partnership with I call him my double colleague, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, who I served with in the City Council of Philadelphia and also here in the Pennsylvania House. I am proud to affirm that the $6.37 billion One Philly budget, my first budget as the first woman mayor in the city of Philadelphia in 341 years, that contains $2 billion in new investments, $800 million in operating, and $1.2 billion in capital improvements over our 5-year plan. It's important for me to affirm that to you, to also let you know that Philadelphia's fiscal stability as a result of our budget, it passed, but we are also on sound fiscal footing. We in the city of Philadelphia received our highest credit rating increase than we've had in decades. Fitch just increased our credit rating to an A+ in the city of Philadelphia. Viewers, if you're like me when I was a member here, what's Fitch and what does an A+ mean to me? It means that when the city of Philadelphia, if we ever have to do any borrowing to invest in that vision, safe, clean, green, economic opportunity for all, that means that the interest rate for that borrowing would be much lower than it would be if that credit rating was worse. What does it mean, Cherelle, for taxpayers in the city of Philadelphia? First and foremost, I was proud about this. We promised no new taxes, and guess what? We passed a budget that contains no new taxes. Can you give no new taxes a huge round of applause? No new taxes. We made good on that improvement. You heard me mention that much of the investment and or success that we are having in the city of Philadelphia is embedded in work that I was proud to watch and be a part of during my tenure as a member of the Pennsylvania House. And we realized that when during this budget process, we increased the homestead exemption from $80,000 to $100,000 for Philadelphia homeowners who, while we have not seen the actual newest assessment data, we know that we are trying to control for any increase in assessments that Philadelphians may see. And I'm really excited about that, along with our ability to have a low-income property tax freeze for Philadelphia's most vulnerable citizens. And that is important for us because Philadelphia is growing, and we have to let our residents know that long-term owner occupants, and particularly our seniors, they matter a great deal to us. In addition to that, I want to talk to you about an issue that you can't mention Philadelphia without someone talking about public safety. That's the major issue. You said Philadelphia public safety. Cherelle Parker, what did you do? The first thing that I did as mayor is I signed an executive order directing our police commissioner, Kevin Bethel. Give Kevin Bethel a round of applause. Toughest job in the world. I think he's the best police commissioner in the nation. The executive order directed Police Commissioner Bethel, Managing Director Adam Teal, along with Public Safety Director Adam Gear, to come up with a comprehensive public safety plan that would be bound in the vision for public safety and implementing it in the city that I promised the people on the trail. When you're like me and you come from extremely humble beginnings where you've had to earn your seat at any table you've been a part of, one of the most valuable tools you have is the power of what you communicate. And keeping my word to the people of the city of Philadelphia, and that we would use prevention, intervention, and enforcement. That's the pie. That using that formula, that is how we would deliver public safety in the city of Philadelphia. That's what we wanted that plan to include. Well, I'm proud to report to you on today that we are already seeing positive impacts. More officers are walking the beat. There is steady progress in our efforts to combat gun violence, and we are finally addressing and taking seriously quality of life issues in the city of Philadelphia. We are addressing retail theft, the illegal use of ATVs, and other quality of life issues that, quite frankly, people have felt like were ignored in our city. I know you have all seen the recent data that was reported from the Center for American Progress, that violent crime is down in big cities across the nation. It is down, and it's been, seen that the steepest decline, the decline in violent crime, not just across the nation, the steepest rate of decline has occurred in the city of Philadelphia. And I got a lot of calls from people saying, how do you feel about that? I'm happy to hear that, data reflects that we have a 38% reduction in homicides, a 40% reduction in shootings, and it is encouraging. But I will dare say to you, it's not time to have a party. It's not time to relax. I'm an English teacher who just happens to be a mayor. And Maya Angelou says that in life, people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel. This mayor won't rest until people who live, work, and play and are stakeholders in the city of Philadelphia feel safe in the city of Philadelphia. And while I've only been here, I don't think it's 6 months yet. I think we're coming up on 6 months. I need the people of the city of Philadelphia and our family here throughout the entire Commonwealth to know that we won't rest until people feel extremely safe in the city of Philadelphia. I want to be clear about that. I mean that. Safe, clean, and green. What's next? We've been hard at work on delivering on this promise. And people have heard me mention our One Philly, a united city-wide cleaning and greening program. What does it include? It's a proactive strategy to address quality of life issues that includes what? Litter, illegal dumping, graffiti, especially on the highways. It bothers me. I just returned from the U.S. Conference of Mayors in Kansas City, and my former colleagues who are here, they know I was an athlete, so I have a bit of a competitive streak in me, and I'm traveling from the airport to get to the hotel in downtown Kansas City, and I'm looking around, at the buildings, and I said, wow, there's no graffiti. We have to have a zero tolerance plan to address the issue of graffiti in the city of Philadelphia. Removal of abandoned cars, addressing, cleaning, and abating vacant lots, and addressing nuisance properties. How did you do it? I did this, and when I say this, I'm referring to assembling the first clean and green cabinet for the city of Philadelphia. On the campaign trail, and I want to say this to all of you, and especially to the viewers, I remember being on a debate that was televised like this meeting's being televised today. And someone asked a question about tools that the mayor can use, and what would you use to lead the city? And I said, well, one of the greatest underutilized tools that a mayor has that I know I would take great advantage of is the tool of convening. The mayor has a strong ability to convene people together to work to solve very complex problems. And I remember some people were in the audience, PCN, and they were laughing at me, the convening power. What we've done, and some of the partners are here in the audience on today, we've convened every agency, government, nonprofit, quasi-government agency to come together to help us clean and green the city of Philadelphia. And we did it while pronouncing a very bold agenda. What is it and how would you get it done? We said that we're going to clean every block in the city of Philadelphia over our, beginning with a 13-week plan to do a deep cleaning. That's the residential blocks and commercial quarters. Anita, I hate to count you out or call you out. I heard people say 13 weeks, she's gonna clean every block. She's setting herself up for failure. There's some people who serve with me, Martina White. I don't apologize for being ambitious. I don't apologize for being bold, and I don't apologize for reaching high. If we reach for the moon and we get the stars, the people of Philadelphia will at least see that we've used every power and tool that we have in order to address the issues that we communicated to them. And so there are some who are what I call expert AOPs. There are a whole lot of them in Harrisburg. I saw a whole lot of them when I was here. These are what I reference as expert articulators of problems. They do an extremely good job outlining and laying down for us what the problems are, but they are short on delivering solutions. I'm a fixer. That's the job of the elected official, the executive or the legislative branch. Our job is to come up with solutions to address seemingly intractable problems so that we can give people access to a government that they can see, touch, and feel. See, touch, and feel their tax dollars at work in the neighborhoods in which they live. And I want to tell you what we've done so far. As of, what's this date? We announced the program on June the 3rd. We have already cleaned 4,000 city blocks and neighborhood commercial quarters as of June 21st in the city of Philadelphia. Please give that a huge round of applause. There is nothing, Fran is here, Pam is here from SEPTA. There is nothing that we cannot do if we put our minds and our resources together. Next thing, so that was safe, clean, and green. The final is economic opportunity for all. Nothing is more frustrating when you are trying to do business and the exact government that should be making it easier for you to do business, because it says we want the private sector to grow because we want you to create jobs. The more Philadelphians and those of us who are in the Commonwealth and in the nation are gainfully employed, earning a living wage, retirement security, and or health care, the safer our city and our Commonwealth and our nation will be. However, sometimes government can get in its own way, and we do it through bureaucracy and red tape. So when I signed that public safety executive order, we also signed an executive order declaring PHL open for business. And that was to remove unnecessary regulations and red tape from doing business in the city of Philadelphia. I am proud to note to you that in the midst of that, we have also created the Mayor's Business Roundtables in the city of Philadelphia, stakeholders, steering committee, industry leaders, developing prospective solutions that local, state, and federal government can embrace so that industry is telling those of us who are elected to public office what it needs to advance and grow, and it's not elected officials telling the private sector that it knows what is best for them. Can you give that a round of applause? Elected officials listening, 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason, using them in proportion. So we have PHL taking care of business to also help us with that access to economic opportunity. You remove the red tape, but after you remove the red tape and the barriers to doing business, what about our neighborhood-based small businesses? We noticed for them, and this came about as a result of my being a member of the City Council of Philadelphia, PHL Taking Care of Business was born. We are now, it hires people. Listen to this novel idea. Some things are just so simple in government. We're in our way sometimes. We make complex or simple issues extremely complex, and they don't have to be. We work with nonprofit organizations in the city. They hire people who live in the neighborhoods that need to be clean. They hire them to clean those neighborhoods, paying them $15 an hour, giving them access to soft skills and training so that they can move into a permanent career. And because of that, we are now in 129 commercial quarters with 39 nonprofit partners, and we employ over 255 individuals in this program throughout the city of Philadelphia. For that, I am excited. The next one, PCN viewers, help the mayor. No one's paying attention to this one, and I'm a little sensitive about it. I'm telling you that once we fully get this issue sort of set up and functioning, people are going to look back on this day, and I don't think I've ever said it this clearly, but I'm saying it out loud to you now. This is my baby that you are about to hear me discuss. It would be the first of its kind in the nation, city college for municipal employment. You have heard about the challenges that municipal, state, and even the federal government is having in attracting and retaining talent. Because I wasn't born into wealth, and when you have to earn your way, I can remember having a good city or state or federal government job. It was a good job. It gave you access to a living wage, access to a pension, access to health care. So there were people in line waiting to get access and trained for those government jobs. That has no longer been the case. But this is when I channel the late, great John Lewis. He talked about this thing that he called good trouble. Good trouble was what he called it. So when people talked about the trouble that municipal government has in attracting and retaining talent, for me, I say this is a good problem for us to have right now. Why? we should be training our own citizens from the school district of Philadelphia. So this is young people from K through 12, but also Community College of Philadelphia, along with parents and people who are in other industries. We have to train them for the jobs that have been difficult for us to fill. Well, in partnership with the school district and CCP and workforce development operators of every industry that is growing and thriving in Philadelphia, we're going to run it all through our City College for Municipal Employment. So imagine being a Philadelphian who doesn't need a hookup, who doesn't need to know someone special, who wakes up and says, Cherelle, we've heard you say you're going to be in student loan debt, repaying the University of Pennsylvania until you're dead for pursuing your master's degree. But we don't want to be there. But what we do want to do is learn how to be a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter. Listen, work in life sciences and biotech, in which Philadelphia is only second to our growth in this industry to Boston. And Pennsylvanians, let me be real clear, I don't want to be second to Boston for anything, okay? And you've heard me talk about that long before I became mayor. I've been talking about that for almost 2 years on the campaign trail. We're going to do that through this event. I also want to talk to you about housing. Bold vision, 30,000 units. Building of new, preservation of existing housing. So that is through maintenance and repair, partnering with public housing, GBCA, BIA, building trades, and all of our apprenticeship programs to train the next generation of developers and builders in the city of Philadelphia. We got through this budget and made some significant investments, but you ain't seen nothing yet. You wait until you see what we are going to unveil in the fall, using that convening power and bringing all of those entities together. The final issue I have to mention before we go into the much anticipated Q&A is education. I am unapologetic about my advocacy for public education. My track record was established when I was here as a member of the Pennsylvania House. My message doesn't change if the audience is Democrat or Republican. When I've talked as mayor in the city of Philadelphia, and people may want me to be more partisan than what they perceive, I work with Democrats and Republicans to get things through. I made my bones the hard way. You want an issue, you go into a room and you figure out a way to GTY. We need to do that for public education. We've made an investment in the Philadelphia School District through our local share. We've increased that to $129 million over the life of our 5-year plan. I am happy about that, but we need the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and our General Assembly to act. $242 million. PCN, I hope you've heard me. $242 million this year, $1.4 billion over the next 7 years in adequacy funding. Students in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in the city of Philadelphia, they deserve it. We've enhanced our local share, and Philadelphia has already gotten it done. We need the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to act. I also want to just state for the record that convening power in action again. I got here in January. In February, the team was researching. In February, we pulled together the first meeting of our education stakeholders. I'm an English teacher by profession, product of the school district of Philadelphia, but I learned a very valuable lesson when I was here in Harrisburg. There's a strategy that was successfully used over the years in an effort to divide the people who represented the city. I would call it the divide and conquer strategy. They would get a constituency that supported traditional public schools and then get a constituency that supported what was then this new and growing industry called the charter school public school industry. And what they would do is to get Philadelphians split into two different constituencies. I said, not on my watch. You won't do that. We're going to bring our chief education advocates together, traditional public schools, charter school advocates, and we're going to figure out what we get to yes together on, not where we disagree. This is no different than the strategies that I employed when I was here, working with and who people believe were ultra-conservative Republican leaders. And they would say, how in the world is she sitting down and figuring out a way to hammer out compromise with this person who she agrees to disagree with 99.9% of the time, but they're figuring out how to get to yes? That's what we were going to do with public education. So if anybody is asking, what is the formal ask for public education coming from the city of Philadelphia? I say, one, read the letter that has been signed by traditional public school advocates, along with charter school advocates, along with our superintendent of schools, the council president, and myself. And again, it advocates for $242 million in that adequacy funding for this year and $1.4 billion over the next 7 years. We will not allow anyone to pit us against each other. There are no divisions in Philadelphia to take advantage of. We are trying to be, and I don't, again, apologize for reaching high. We are trying to be one Philly, a united city, and through my vision and plan, to make us the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in the nation with access to economic opportunity for all, we will achieve it. Thank you, Pennsylvania Press Club here in Harrisburg, for having me. Thank you, baby. So now you all have to tell me how this goes in terms of questions. It's been a long time. Francine.
Questions from the audience?
Yes, ma'am.
With all eyes on Philadelphia over the next few years, the World Cup, Major League Baseball All-Stars, the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial, how is the city bracing for the infrastructure needs for these events, as well as the plans to redevelop the sports district and the controversial plans for a new downtown arena?
So one, let me just state that I have just returned from the U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting in Kansas, where I actually did a brief presentation with the America 250 organization, and they're doing a yeoman's job organizing across the Commonwealth. Then we have the Pennsylvania and then the Philadelphia version of 250. The first thing we're going to do, Francine, is to make sure we're not stepping over each other's toes, on or over or around, right? And making sure that there is collaboration amongst all three branches and levels of those organizations. The next thing we have to do is to do what you've seen me focus on. I want to say to the press, there were people who, when I was on the campaign trail, PCN viewers, they said that safe, clean, and green, that vision wasn't big enough. And I thought to myself, those are people who are not connected to what real people want on the ground, because if you do, you would know that there is nothing more important and or essential to a community than it being safe, clean, and green. I know it sounds so complex to some, but it was very simple. So we're working to do what my grandmother taught me. Before a company comes, get your own house in order. Right, and that's what we're trying to do right now in the city of Philadelphia. The infrastructure. We need that federal and state support. You know, I've got to say it for the record. You know, when I was here, talk about good trouble. $15 billion in surplus. That's good trouble to have on your hands. We didn't have that kind of good trouble on our hands when I was a member of the Pennsylvania General Assembly. But my hope is that between federal and state government and us working in collaboration with each other, we will make sure that all of the infrastructure improvements that we need to make, that they occur across the city and the region. When I was in Kansas City, I wouldn't just talk about Philadelphia. People would often hear me state, well, you know, our 5-county region, aren't you the mayor of Philadelphia? I'm saying yes, but if you live in Buckchester, Delaware, Montco, and you're contiguous to the city of Philadelphia in some way, when you hear me say my people, I'm talking about you too. Because what we do in our region and our regional economy, safe, clean, and green, it impacts all of us. And particularly when you think of people ascending on Philadelphia for all of those events, our southeastern Pennsylvania brothers and sisters are going to be impacted as well. So I'm working on collaborating and bringing all of those entities together and securing the revenue that we need from the federal and state government to help make it happen.
Mayor Parker, you've taken a seriously neutral position on expanding school choice for students trapped in the bottom 15% at schools. What is preventing you from taking sides on this critical debate?
Call it experience, Francine. I'm just, for those of you who are new here, you heard Francine introduce me. You may be sitting at a table with someone who says, she doesn't talk as loud as she used to. She's lowered her tone a bit. When I was here, Philadelphia, and I'm talking about in the House, we had no Philadelphian who was in leadership. I would become, just my luck, chair of the Philadelphia delegation. Where's she, Morgan Plant? She's heard my cries. I became chair of the Philadelphia delegation when we had a Republican governor, a Republican-controlled House, and a Republican Senate, with no Philadelphian in caucus leadership on either side of the aisle. And I was chair of what was then considered to be this symbolic role, chair of the Philadelphia delegation. But I was thrust as being the chief negotiator for all things Philadelphia during that time. And I would say to you, the worst thing you can do to a legislator going into the room to sit down at the budget negotiating table is handcuff them into making a commitment to have to do absolutely X on this. Public education is a broad-based issue. The funding of it, the Commonwealth's Court decision, it has forced us into a position where we have to act right now. But ensuring that there was a unified response to the funding of public education proper in the city of Philadelphia, that is our #1 priority. Our support for or against anything else, well, aside from the minimum wage, you want to help Philadelphia. That's the #1 policy decision that you can make, as far as I'm concerned, as mayor of the city. But for us to take a position either for or against something, as significant as what you described, that doesn't help us in our Philadelphia delegation, and to me, those in the Southeast are going into budget negotiations, because when you are not at the table, you don't know what give and take is going to be on the table. And this is one thing I will say, that I believe in getting to yes, and I believe in getting to yes, and my leaders, along with the governor, along with leadership on both the Democratic and Republican side, I think with the leeway that they all need, they will go in the room and they will figure it out. There's some people who have said, Cherelle, I don't know if they're going to get to it. I'm an eternal optimist. I think they're going to get to it. But I don't think that my Democratic leaders in particular, now I'm thinking about Joanna McClinton, our Appropriations Chairman Jordan Harris, our Appropriations Chairman in the Senate, Vincent Hughes, Morgan Cephas is chair of the delegation in the House. When they go into negotiations on behalf of the city of Philadelphia, I want them to have the freedom to do what they believe is in the best interests of the city. And if Dwight Evans was here, he would say, well, Cherelle, you'll hear from me when it's soup. It's not soup yet. And somebody's watching saying, what in the world is she talking about? A lot of issues and things will be discussed while people are negotiating right now. When it's soup, that means when it's coming, when the deal is coming together, that's when you will know when it's time to stand up and affirm your support for or against something, because we'll be that close. I haven't seen the smoke signals in the air telling me that it's close to being soup yet. But when it's close to being soup, if I feel like I need to be heard from on any issue, not just that one particular issue, on any issue. I will make sure my voice is heard.
Thank you for your leadership and vision on moving Philadelphia and the region forward. How can we build more support for the governor's transportation funding plan to help all agencies across Pennsylvania?
You just heard me mention our 5-county region. These are old numbers, Fran and Pam. I don't know if these numbers are still accurate. Well, wait, are we now in the Commonwealth? Are we at about 13 million in our population now? We have 13 million. The last time I looked at some numbers, I was told that over 40%, it was like between 40 and 42 or 43% of revenue in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was generated in Philadelphia and in southeastern Pennsylvania. That's old, though. I haven't been here in a while. It's accurate? It's still accurate? Oh, so 40. We don't move. Our economy in southeastern Pennsylvania doesn't move without an investment in mass transit. When I was here, we did Act 89, again, working in a bipartisan manner. But right now, not that we aren't appreciative of what we did with Act 89, but, we've surpassed that level. And now it seems like we're even worse off, Fran, than we were when we were just enacting Act 89. So if someone doesn't think that supporting mass transit, and not just in southeastern Pennsylvania, but across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, when I talk to people in the West, in the Pittsburgh, Allegheny County area, and other regions in our Commonwealth, they tell me that their mass transit systems as well are in great need of funding. So I would think that it's a no-brainer, but that's just me. Again, it's different when you're not at the budget table with a seat. But in the list of priorities that the city of Philadelphia has communicated to, through, and with the governor and the legislative branch, of course, SEPTA is a part of it. We've also done our own share of work. We have increased funding for mass transit in this budget. You heard me mention $129 million for public education. And for SEPTA, we just increased our budget by $117 million. So for anybody who is saying Philadelphia is not paying its fair share, I want you to have the numbers accurately. We just invested $117 million more dollars in mass transit and $129 million more dollars in public education. And while the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has a $15 billion surplus, we have a little old $6.37 billion budget in the city of Philadelphia, but we managed to make those investments. So our hope is that the Commonwealth will manage to do its own share. Thank you. Thank you, Francine. An important question. Thank you.
I have two questions along a similar theme. How much easier would your job be if you had a district attorney that worked with you as opposed to against you? Second question, what is your relationship with Larry Krasner?
So, hello, Pennsylvania Press Club, Harrisburg. I don't know if you noticed this about me. And people, again, laughed at me about this because it's the part of my DNA. My job is to convene people and bring people together. We in the city of Philadelphia are going to do our job when it comes to public safety. You will not be able to steal $499 worth of merchandise in the city of Philadelphia and think that there won't be any consequences. I just won't have that on my watch. I don't function that way, right? That's just not me, right? However, I want you to know that our police commissioner, Kevin Bethel, our district attorney, Larry Krasner, public safety director, Adam Gear, city solicitor, Renee Garcia. I want to give you some examples. And this is real-time stuff. No one hasn't asked me this since these things happened. We had some challenges in Philadelphia relating to some encampments at two prominent institutions in our city. In order to work to address those issues, the only way I know how to do those kinds of, it's a big problem, right? But the only way I know how to do it is asking all stakeholders to come to the table. We did just that. District Attorney Krasner was a part of it. Everyone, we don't always agree on everything. I don't know anybody who I agree with 100% of the time about everything. But when and where we needed all of our stakeholders to come together on an issue, he has been a willing stakeholder at the table with us. And for those who agree or either disagree with his decision-making, voters in the city of Philadelphia do that during elections. My job is to implement that plan and that vision that I laid out very succinctly. You know, you won't do whatever you want to do in the city of Philadelphia and think that there won't be any repercussions. I have said, and I don't just say that in front of, you know, white audiences or black audiences or Latino audiences. Remember, I'm the candidate who on the campaign trail, people told me that I would need it to be a chameleon, deliver one message in the Northeast, in the river. Josh Frank DeChico, when I got to Old Irish, Italian, South Philadelphia, they said, this is the message. When you get to Center City, have a message. But when you get to Southwest Philly and West Philadelphia and Winfield, another message. And North Philadelphia, another message. And of course, when you get uptown to your neighborhood in Northwest Philadelphia, another message. Message doesn't stay, it doesn't change based on the audience or the demographic or the constituency. The message is the same. And I won't allow anybody to get in the middle of that. We're going to ask everybody who has a role to stay in their lane and do what it is that they're supposed to do to make Philadelphia's public health and safety our #1 priority, and we're going to do just that. And I won't get sort of caught up, right, in the this is what and who you're not doing, and you're bad because that's what people wanted me to do to Republicans when I was here. You know, now listen, we got another election that's coming up that I have a whole lot to say about. Now, I won't talk, I'm not going to engage in that conversation here on the day, but with another hat on, I'll be able to talk to you as a delegate to the DNC. I'll be able to have that conversation about Joe Biden and our senior senator, Bob Casey, but that's for another time. If we're talking policy right now, when it comes time to delivering and getting results, I don't do this part. Do your job, Cherelle. Have the police commissioner, the police department do its job on your watch, and you will see some other things take care of themselves. If you were listening just now and I gave you a really good answer.
I have one last question for today. That ends the Corporation thanks you for your aggressive agenda around substance use disorder and looks forward to partnering with you in planning and implementation. Can you provide an update on your plans to target addiction and build services?
Thank you for this question. And let me get to my notes on this one because I want to make sure I'm here it is. Francine, I'm the people who understand most what I am proposing that we do in the Kensington section of Philadelphia. First, understand that I call it the worst domestic humanitarian crisis occurring in the Northeast here in the United States. I firmly believe that in my heart of hearts. The people who also will most understand it are those people who have ever loved someone very close to them who has suffered from addiction, substance use disorder, mental and behavioral health challenges. Those people will understand that I am trying to do something in Philadelphia that has never been done and build an ecosystem for something that doesn't exist. I'm not telling you that any strategies that have been invested in over the years have not had a return on their investment. And in particular, the area in which a lot of people have criticized me for, and that is because I have said it is $1 million out of a $6.37 billion budget. As someone who has had very, very close people who I have loved and I couldn't do anything about stopping them in the conundrum, the vicious cycle called addiction, for focusing on long-term care, treatment, and housing, and saying that one thing a needle exchange in the harm reduction ecosystem. Not that we don't believe in what it has returned. We understand its significance as it relates in the reduction of the spread of HIV and AIDS, hepatitis, and other bloodborne diseases. And we think that they have done great work. I am not arguing with medical professionals about science, and that this tool, needle exchange, has had a significant impact in reducing the transmission of those diseases. What I have simply said is, yes, it was $1 million, but we can get the private sector and the philanthropic community to help fill that space and fund that portion of the ecosystem that has been invested in for years, and help me use the city budget, scarce taxpayer dollars, to focus on building what doesn't exist. Long-term care, treatment, and housing. An ecosystem that is not there. Cherelle, with what you just got done via the $6.37 billion Philly budget, what did it include for this? $100 million in capital funds to begin building. Notice I said begin, because it's not enough to even do all of what we need to begin building and rehabilitating the Riverview Wellness Village, and ultimately what will and could it be? A facility where up to 640 beds will be available to care and treat people suffering from addiction, mental health challenges, and other issues in that area. I say to the provider that we'll need you. We convene, and Francine, I'm embarrassed to even say this. Adam Teal, who is our managing director, like everybody has their challenge. This is in Adam Teal's bucket. For those who know me, the first thing I said is you need to convene every hospital and every mental and behavioral health provider available in the city of Philadelphia, and you've got to convene them because they need to tell us what we should be asking for. We need adjustments in Medicaid reimbursement and the length of time we're going to cover people who need addiction, substance use disorder treatment. What is it going to mean for people who are incarcerated in our county prisons or arrested on our streets? How do we ensure that the insurance is controlled for and what it is that we're doing? And I got there at the beginning of the meeting just to say hi and thank you all for coming, and thank Managing Director Teal for putting it together. And I said, I know you all get together frequently. Thank you for agreeing now to just come together and talk to this new administration. He said, get together regularly. New administration? This group had never been pulled together by an administration before. Do you know how long we in Philadelphia have been dealing with this issue in Kensington? The long-term owner occupants who've lived there, who don't have the luxury of picking up and moving and going somewhere else. The children who live there, who can't have a straight walk to school without doing hopscotch over needles. PCN, there's going to be some people who are going to call me some names. And they're going to say some things about the decisions that I have made as mayor of the city of Philadelphia in this area. I'm saying to each of you, I'm doing the best I can with what I have. I'm trying to do right now what has never been done. I don't know whether or not ultimately in the end, we will get all of the success that we hope to achieve. No one in our city will be able to say that I didn't try as their mayor. Is it tough? Absolutely. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But I will do the best I can with what I have to change the course of the quality of life in Kensington, because the people who live there and the people in the city of Philadelphia, we deserve better. Thank you all for having me.
We'd like to thank Mayor Parker and wish her well. We have some mementos for her. These are gifts, compliments of PCN and the Pennsylvania Press Club. In closing, we want to thank you for being with us. Our next luncheon is Monday, July 22nd. Our guest will be Senator Jay Costa, Senate Democratic Leader. For scheduling information, visit our website, papressclub.org.